Hello.
Okay, let's get the sound on, Bill. Something's not clear.
I can hear you, Margaret.
Okay, great. Here's Bill.
Good morning.
Morning.
Okay, can you hear it?
No.
That one, but not this one? Okay, we'll check it.
Hey, Logie.
Hey, Mary.
Hey, Creepy.
Hey, Bill.
Hey, Creepy.
There you go.
Hey, Jordan.
You now.
Where's William?
Hello. Hey, Fanny.
What?
Hey, Charlie.
Hi, Crestfield.
Hey, Charlie.
Hey, Bassett.
Hi, Rebecca.
Thank you, Pete.
Good morning.
I'm on.
I knew
you.
Morning, Charlie.
I'm not you right now. I'm checking my phone.
Amanda.
Hi, I'm.
Hey, Amanda.
Hey, Rosie.
Hey,
Hi,
man.
There you are. Hey, Danny boy.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Emily.
Hey, Emily. Hey, Emily. Morning, Daniel.
Who?
Everybody.
Good
Fine, Daniel. Who?
That's my group little.
I'll keep it up.
I forgot over
I
there.
know that my
Hey,
precious.
Lindsay Floyd. As my group leader.
Hey.
Hey,
Oh, I had my hair cut.
Hey,
My
Lynn.
hair cut, though.
Hi, Rebecca.
Hey,
Good
Lizzie.
Hey, Lizzie.
Yes.
Hey, Rebecca.
What? Okay.
Hey,
Elizabeth.
Lizzie. Hey,
Kippy.
Lizzie.
Hi, Creepy.
Hey, and Mikey. And Johnny.
Big Boo.
Everybody.
Big Boo.
Hey,
Hey,
Charlie.
Rosemary. I can tell you where my design.
Emily.
Morning,
Emily.
My favorite shirt, Emily. It's my favorite shirt.
I know, mine too.
Rosemary.
I want to come back.
Okay. Hey.
Hey,
Yes.
William.
Hey,
Hey.
Megan.
Hey.
Linda.
That's my laundry
Nice
buddy.
one.
Laundry buddy.
Hey, Mindy.
Hey, Rebecca.
Hey, Lindsay. Mary.
Hey, Megan.
Hey.
Logan.
Hey, Christy.
Oh, it's down here.
Hey,
They
laundry
moved.
buddy.
Laundry buddy.
It's Helen.
Classmate.
Hey, Rebecca.
Hey.
Hi, Logan.
Hey, Mikey.
Hey, Rebecca.
Hey, William. Hey, William.
Hey, Mentos.
There.
Hi, Sarah Thomas. Hey,
I'll see
Billy.
you.
Hey, Elizabeth, you got the
Hey,
Cocoa
Rebecca.
Brick on the Easter weeklies all the time.
Morning, Michelle.
Well, not Christmas. Hey, Amanda.
Hey, cute.
Hi, Rebecca.
Hi, cute nose.
Thank you, Pete.
Rosemary.
Hey, Christy.
Hey, Rebecca.
Still working
Hey,
on it.
cousin.
Hey,
How about
Billy.
that?
Sandy.
Where's your birthday?
Hey,
Sandy.
Hey, Mindy.
Thing I'm gonna take out. Already
Lindsay.
June.
Lord.
Hey, Bill.
Hey,
Hey,
Liv.
Charlie, Daniel.
Hey, yeah, Beth Phoebe's birthday, our house mom.
Dude.
That's right.
Charlie. Carol. Morning,
All right, guys, you ready to get started this morning? We're going to start with a song. This is a song that we've done in the past. It's been a few weeks back since we've done it. It's a song called Wonderful, Merciful Savior. So I think it's a pretty familiar song, so if you remember it, feel free to join. Wonderful, merciful Savior, precious Redeemer and friend, who would have thought that a lamb rescue the souls of men? Oh, you rescue the souls of men. Counselor, comforter, keeper, Spirit we long to embrace. Here in our weakness you find us, falling before your throne. Oh, we're falling before your throne. You are the one that we praise. You are the one we adore. You give the healing and grace. Our hearts always hunger for. Oh, our hearts always hunger. Almighty infinite Father, faithfully loving your own. Here in our weakness you find us, falling before your throne. Oh, we're falling before your throne. You are the one that we praise. You are the one we adore. You give the healing and grace. Our hearts always hunger for. Oh, our hearts always hunger for. You are the one that we praise. You are the one we adore. You give the healing and grace. Our hearts always hunger for. Oh, our hearts always hunger for. The next one we're going to do is another one that's pretty old. I think you guys all know it. It's called As the Deer, based on Psalm 42. If you remember it, we joined. As the deer panteth for the water, so my soul longeth after thee. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship thee. You alone are my strength, my shield. To you alone may my spirit yield. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship thee. I want you more than gold or silver, only you can satisfy. You alone are the real joy giver and the apple of my eye. You alone are my strength, my shield. To you alone may my spirit yield. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship thee. You're my friend and you are my brother, even though you are others so much more than anything. You alone are my strength, my shield. You alone be my spirit. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship you. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship you. All right, guys. So you may remember the last couple times we've met, we've talked about the book of Daniel. My goal was to kind of go through the book of Daniel over the next few weeks. So today we're going to look at Daniel chapter 3, which is one of the more exciting chapters in the book. I know I said that last time, but each chapter is pretty exciting in its own way. Daniel himself isn't actually mentioned in this chapter, but his three friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, are the main characters in this chapter. So we'll go ahead and get started. All right, I'm going to start reading the first few verses and we'll talk about it. Nebuchadnezzar made a gold statue 90 feet high and 9 feet wide and set it up on the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. Then he sent messages to all the princes, governors, captains, judges, treasurers, counselors, sheriffs, and rulers of all the provinces of his empire to come to the dedication of his statue. When they had all arrived and were standing before the monument, the herald shouted out, "O people of all nations and languages, this is the king's command. When the band strikes up, you are to fall flat on the ground to worship King Nebuchadnezzar's gold statue. Anyone who refuses to obey will be immediately thrown into a flaming furnace." So we already talked about how Nebuchadnezzar is the villain in this story. He's not a good guy. And in this chapter, that's pretty obvious. He builds this huge idol about 90 feet high. If you want to put that in perspective, that's like stacking 9 basketball goals on top of each other. It's a really tall statue. And he doesn't just ask people to worship, he commands it. And he says that if anybody who doesn't worship the statue is going to be thrown into a fiery furnace. The next verse says, "So when the band began to play, everyone, whatever his nation, language, or religion, fell to the ground and worshipped him. But some officials went to the king and accused some of the Jews of refusing to worship. 'Your Majesty,' they said to him, 'you made a law that everyone must fall down and worship the gold statue when the band begins to play, and that anyone who refuses will be thrown into a flaming furnace. But there are some Jews out there, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, whom you put in charge of Babylonian affairs, who have defied you, refusing to serve your gods or to worship the gold statue you set up.' Then Nebuchadnezzar, in a terrible rage, ordered Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to be brought before him. 'Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego,' he demanded, 'that you are refusing to serve my gods or to worship the gold statue I set up? I'll give you one more chance. When the music plays, if you fall down and worship the statue, all will be well. But if you refuse, you will be thrown into a flaming furnace within the hour. And what God can deliver you out of my hands then?' Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied, 'O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not worried about what will happen to us. If we are thrown into the flaming furnace, our God is able to deliver us, and he will deliver us out of your hand, your Majesty. But if he doesn't, please understand, sir, that even then we will never under any circumstance serve your gods or worship the gold statue you've erected.' So the cue to bow down to the statues when the band started playing their instruments, and most of the people did, except for Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And the reason they wouldn't bow down is because they knew the commandments that God had given Moses. They knew that to bow down to this idol would be breaking the commandment that says you shall not make for yourself a graven image. You shall not bow down to it or worship them. It would have been really easy for them to make excuses because their life was at stake. They could have decided to go ahead and worship the statue and just apologize to God later. They could have, tried to tell themselves that surely God wouldn't want them to die. So if they did something like that, God would overlook it. They could have just tried to pretend to worship the statue, but not really do it. They could have tried to convince themselves that it was okay because the king had commanded it, and they had to obey the king. But none of those, they didn't try to make any excuses. They just knew what the right thing to do was. And they knew that given the choice between obeying the king or obeying God, they had to obey God. There's an example of this in the book of Acts when Peter was arrested for preaching the gospel, preaching about Jesus rising from the dead. The same group of people that had arrested Jesus had arrested Peter. and they were ordering Peter to never preach the gospel again. And Peter's response was, "We must obey God rather than man." So anytime there's a conflict between what somebody tells you to do and what God has told you to do, we always have to stick with what God has said. Have you ever thought about what you would do if you were in the same situation that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were in? It was a pretty scary situation. And the thing is, they can't disobey the king's command quietly. If everyone else around them is bowing down and worshiping, if they're not bowing down, they're going to stand out pretty obviously. There's a lot of peer pressure they're feeling. Anyway, when the king finds out, he's really mad, but he likes Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, so he gives them another chance. He tells them if they'll go ahead and worship the statue this time, he'll forgive them and move on. But they stand their ground. They said they don't really care what the king does. They're not going to worship it. And they don't say that they're going to refuse because they know God's going to rescue them. They say God can rescue them, but they say whether or not he does, we're just not going to worship the statue no matter what. So clearly honoring God was more important than their own safety. So the next verse says, "Then Nebuchadnezzar was filled with fury, and his face became dark with anger at Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He commanded that the furnace be heated 7 times hotter than usual, and called for some of the strongest men in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and throw them into the fire. So they bound them tight with ropes and threw them into the furnace fully clothed. And because the king in his anger had demanded such a hot fire in the furnace, the flames leaped out and killed the soldiers as they threw them in. So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego fell down bound into the roaring flames. But suddenly, as he was watching, Nebuchadnezzar jumped up in amazement and exclaimed to his advisors, 'Didn't we throw 3 men into the furnace?' 'Yes,' they said, 'we did indeed, your majesty.' 'Well, look,' Nebuchadnezzar shouted, 'I see 4 men, unbound, walking around in the fire, and they aren't even hurt by the flames. And the 4th looks like a god.' Then Nebuchadnezzar came as close as he could to the open door of the flaming furnace and yelled, 'Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out, come here.' So they stepped out of the fire. Then the princes, governors, captains, and counselors crowded around them and saw that the fire hadn't touched them. Not a hair of their heads was singed, their coats were unscorched, and they didn't even smell of smoke. Then Nebuchadnezzar said, 'Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, for he sent his angel to deliver his trusting servants when they defied the king's commandment and were willing to die rather than serve or worship any god except their own.'" So Nebuchadnezzar has them tied up and thrown into this fire, and he heats the fire so hot that the soldiers that throw the men are actually killed by the flames. And as he stands there and watches what happens, he's amazed because he sees Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego walking around in the furnace. They're not on fire, and with them there's this 4th man walking around that looks like a son of the gods, he says. It sounds like this 4th man was an angel that God had sent to protect Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. It might have even been Jesus himself. So when they come out of the fire, the king examines them. Their clothes aren't burned. Their hair isn't burned. They don't even smell like smoke. If you stand close to a campfire, you're usually going to have a smoke smell, but they don't even smell like smoke. So it's like the fire completely left them alone. And this so amazes Nebuchadnezzar that he declares that Shadrach, Meshach, and God is the true God. So Nebuchadnezzar had said the same thing basically at the end of Daniel chapter 2 when Daniel translated his dream for him or interpreted his dream for him. Nebuchadnezzar said, your God is the true God. But he's a slow learner. He keeps seeing these examples of God being the true God, but he isn't really committed to worshiping God himself yet. But we'll see. He'll eventually get there. So just to kind of sum up what we talked about, for Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, being faithful to God was the most important thing. It was more important to them than whether or not the king liked them. It was more important than being safe. It was more important than life itself. If we only love God and do what he commands us to do when it's safe or easy, that means our love for God is kind of shallow. Sometimes doing what God commands us to do is dangerous, but God wants us to follow him even in those moments. And lastly, through their obedience to God, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego helped Nebuchadnezzar see that Israel's God was the true God. Had they given in and worshipped these idols, Nebuchadnezzar never would have had a chance to see God's power for himself. So, all right, so that's a quick look at Daniel chapter 3. We're going to do one more song now. This is a song we've done before. It's been a while. It's called He Is Exalted. So if you remember this song, feel free to join and sing along. exalted and I will praise his name. He is the Lord, forever his truth shall reign. Heaven and earth rejoice in his holy name. He is exalted, he is exalted on high. He is exalted, the King is exalted on high. I will praise him. He is exalted forever, exalted. I will praise his name. He is the Lord, forever his truth shall reign. Heaven and earth rejoice in his holy name. He is exalted, the King is exalted on high. He is the Lord, forever his truth shall reign. Heaven and earth rejoice in his holy name. He is exalted, the King is exalted on high. He is exalted, the King is exalted on high. All right, guys, I think we're going to do a few minutes of prayer requests now.
All right, guys. So Zoom, I try to unmute you. You're going to have to click on your own screen, unmute, okay? Y'all get that? So look for something to pop up and then click unmute when it's your turn, okay? All right, Linda. Michelle. Megan. Y'all see if you can click unmute on your screen. There you go.
All right. There she is.
Here
All
I am.
Hey, Linda.
Hey. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. I want to pray for my older sister. She's having a problem with her knees. And I want to pray for everybody at the seed. And I can't wait to go back to the mustard seed. Amen. Got it?
Got it. Thank you.
Was that funny?
All right, Michelle.
He got tickled.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, there's the other one. Pray for the staff. And I pray for everybody here. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Michelle.
And for the girls' home.
Yes. Hey, all right, Megan, do you see something popping up on your
Really?
screen?
Yeah, I got it.
All right.
And okay, I just we came back saying, but I like I love y'all. Be healthy.
Thank you. I almost called you Jennifer because of what you're
And then Jennifer, okay, sorry, boy.
Logan? Logan, do you have any prayer requests?
Let's do it.
Logan, do you have any prayer requests?
Yeah, yeah. I don't feel better now. Just anyway, fine. I better now.
Thank you, Logan. Amanda?
I pray for my 2 brothers and 2 sisters. I pray for the virus to go away because I miss all the staff, and I pray for the girls
No.
who come and the guys, and I pray for everyone. I pray for the virus to go away because I miss all the staff, and I pray for both group homes. Amen.
Thank you, Amanda.
You're welcome.
Simonson?
Floyd. Pray for my sister's baby. I pray for my brother's baby. I pray for all the staff. And of course, Megan.
Thank you.
Anytime, Floyd.
All right, Emily.
Oh, good. Well, I pray for everybody here on Zoom. I pray for everybody that pray for I could pray Lindsay Ford, healthy baby. I pray for the virus to stop. And wait for the governor to have phase 3. And amen.
Thank you. William? William, don't forget to press the button, okay, buddy? There's going to be a button that comes up, and you need to press unmute. Unmute. Or press the little button that looks like a red microphone with a slash through it.
I don't know how.
Well, not you, Emily. You're good. You're already unmuted.
Okay.
William.
Emily.
Hey, William, why don't you go ask your mama to unmute you, okay? Caroline?
Okay, there we go.
All right.
Yeah.
Miss Ruby?
No. That's all right, babe.
Hey, William Brown.
Prayer.
Oh.
So tell me to go.
Well, I like to pray. Churchy. I mean.
Thank you, William. Hey, Caroline, do you see something that coming up that says unmute on your screen? Or ask your mama to? And Shane, while we're waiting for Caroline to unmute, do you want to go ahead?
What, me?
Uh-huh.
I pray for my travel out west Sunday.
Going out west.
Mm-hmm.
You got your boots and spurs ready?
Stop.
Is that it?
That's it.
Thank you. Hey, Caroline, get your mama and see if she'll unmute you, okay? Rebecca?
Yeah.
Do you have any prayer requests?
Well, I'm going to pray for the patriotics and our forefathers. They gave us life, and so we celebrate the Independence Day coming up, the 4th of July, and America means to us, and they're in America's special day, and a blessed, happy, how they are in
God bless him and have a great America birthday.
Thank you, Rebecca. Hey, Caroline, did you get your mama yet? Look, I'm pressing a button and there should be something that comes up on your screen that says unmute. Press the button that says unmute. U-N-M-U-T. It's on your screen. The screen of your iPad. While I'm going through this, will somebody text Gayla and say, hey, will you please unmute Caroline? Thank you. Gabby?
Yes, sir. Of course, my family, opportunity, and the virus go away.
Thank you, Gabby.
You're welcome.
Christy Ledoux?
Pray for my family. They would come back anytime soon for the virus to go away. Amen.
Thank you, Christy.
You're welcome.
Claire?
I want to pray. I want to pray for continue to pray for the staff. Where I'm going back to our church is open now. We went to church last week. I want to pray for my sister because we're going to visit her on Friday. Wait, no. On Friday afternoon, we're going to go to see my sister in Chattanooga. I want to pray for churches around the world and for today we'll go back and our church has been back since our first one was last Sunday. Amen.
Thank you. Hey, Margaret, if you can hear us, will you unmute Bill? Thank you so much.
Sorry, I didn't know he was muted.
No, you're fine. I have Zoom changed recently, and when I mute everybody so that Daniel can sing without the audio cutting out, I have to now ask to unmute. I can't unmute on my own. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Bill, will you pray for us?
God in heaven, I'm in my name. I take and will name, actually in heaven. They just have there, and soon as that, the thing and that. I try to take a man soon, Amen.
Thank you, Bill. Elizabeth, do you have any announcements for us?
Like always.
Yeah.
I think my only announcements are that this afternoon the ladies have a ladies group at 3 o'clock with Shelly. And tomorrow morning, Lindsay is doing exercise. Richard Simmons, right? Richard Simmons at 10 o'clock. And we've got hair braiding and makeup with Abby at 3 o'clock. And yeah, I think that's all we've got today and tomorrow. But I miss you guys. I love you. And don't forget that Friday is our second round of show and tell. So on Friday, you can share with us something fun at your house, something special. You could show off your room to us, whatever you like. So second round of show and tell on Friday.
That's nice. The super fun massage.
Does anybody, any other staff have anything to say before we left, before the Seedsters, you guys just chatted up?
And that's not Charlie.
I know Theo.
My phone wants a horse.
Doggy.
All right, guys, we love y'all. There's about 4 minutes left.
That's not Charlie.
There's a couple of you.
Do y'all want to meet Tango?
Yes.
This is Tango. So cute.
I'm kidding.
So cute.
That's cute.
It's precious.
Hey.
Hey, sweetie.
Oh, I'm sorry for it. I forgot to mention Pepper Heather's mom's niece.
Yes.
It was Mary.
Hey, Megan, unmute.
Hey, Rosemary. Claire.
Megan, I see you trying to talk. Unmute yourself.
Yeah, Megan.
Well,
What are you trying to do, Megan? Try to unmute yourself?
That's my good. That's my good.
Scooby Doo.
well,
I
There you
agree
go.
on that.
That's not special, Megan.
Good job, Tango.
Hi, one hottie toddy.
Hi, Abigail.
Megan's nuts.
Mama.
That's my cute nose.
what about you? Duh.
Megan, that's my cute nose.
Hey, Daniel.
Boy,
That's my good little.
Good one, Sarah.
I know that, Megan.
Unmuted now. Let's let her do her prayer request real quick.
Oh, yeah. All right, everybody be really quiet so Caroline can say her prayer request. Go ahead, Caroline.
Sunny, Sunny, how about sis?
It hurt. Yeah.
All right. Great job, Caroline. Thank you.
You're not Charlie. Hi, cute nose.
Now Amanda does that, my stupid buddy.
Hi, Purple Buddy Emily.
Hey, Megan.
Hi,
Hey,
Megan.
Daniel.
Hi, Sarah.
Met.
I always pray for my good friend Lindsay Ford.
Very funny.
Lindsay Ford.
Megan, I know you for 12 years. Don't go there.
No,
Yes.
no,
Don't do it now.
no.
My good
Don't do it now, my friends. It's my phone with stars.
I'm glad
that's
Red put on
not
my shirt.
Look, my
I'm
phone.
happy for that.
Emily? Hey, Emily.
Hey,
Emily.
hey, crazy nut.
There you go.
Yeah, that's my
You
cookie.
can be a nut sometimes. You go.
Oh, the bigger
Well,
That's my cookie.
Hey, Daniel.
Come here. Come over here.
Hey, what's that?
Hurry up. I'm about to get off in a minute.
Good one, Emma.
Hey, baby.
No.
Fred, where's
My purple buddy.
Fred?
Yep, Purple Buddy. Yep. I love my purple.
Actually, she's my best friend.
I'll see y'all
So,
on Zoom on Saturday. For
No, no, no. Man.
my phone is
I
having
miss
stars.
Elizabeth.
I don't
No
know
way.
you. You know I should